see here. That's a good sign. Alright. Let's see if everything's coming up. Okay. There's some new stuff here. Let me make sure the games are gonna look okay. Gen 1 NU. Yeah, it looks generally fine. You can see both kind of well. Okay. Let me test if I can see something. Test. Okay. Yeah, I see that there, so that's good at least. Okay, if anyone is in the chat, please let me know if you can hear the, like if sound audio, if like audio balance is good, if you could actually hear me, stuff like that, that'd be awesome. I have not done a live stream in a hot minute, and there's all sorts of changes here in YouTube that I don't, really know. I haven't, like, I've got it all set up totally different in OBS than what's, how it normally is. It's all good? Excellent. Okay, that's good to hear. So yeah, we're getting ready for the, finals match here between, Akaru Koyoku and Xern. I don't know if that's how their names are said, but that's how I'm gonna say their names. Nobody told me how to pronounce them, so I'm just gonna wing it. The best I can, anyway. Let me look up some stats on how the how both of them were in regular season, because I don't think Akaru actually played Black and White in regular season. They've played Black and White before, I know for sure, like in Black and White Cup. I don't think they actually played in regular season this year, which is a bit of an unusual move. Normally, you don't slot in players like that. Let's see here. So, if I look at Akaru on the Ducks, Akaru, looks like Akaru was mostly playing Sun and Moon. Yeah, I don't show them in, yeah, they've been mostly playing Sun and Moon. Whereas for the Crater Makers, Xern, I didn't think Xern was playing Black and White either. So both of these players are kind of getting slotted into Black and White here at the end. I think they both counterpick to Black and White because the either probably didn't expect to get XY out of it, because the normal Black and White slot for the Ducks was Idil, or as they used to go by, and the one I know them by, Morik. And then Crater Maker's usual Black and White player. Who was Crater Maker's usual Black and White? Oh, it was either Smudge or Monai. So they decided not to put either of them in finals for Black and White. I wonder who actually counterpicked to Black and White. Because I know normally in these finals matches, the way that it goes is that the player who, like the teams usually, like they have to start with a Scarlet and Violet, and then one of the teams picks a tier, and then the other team picks another tier, and you can't do the same one. Ducks counterpicked. Okay, so Ducks had first pick there. So Ducks initially picked XY. Is that what you're saying? That would make sense because Momork is very good in X and Y. And so Crater Maker's actually counterpicked to Black and White. I guess just kind of hoping that the usual black-white picks for, like, they were just hoping that Mork would have to play XY, and so they wouldn't be able to put them in Black and White either. I'm guessing that was probably the line. Yeah, interesting way to approach it. But Akaru is fine in black and white. I don't know. I'm trying to remember Exern's black and white history. I, of course, did not look any of this up before starting the stream. So we're just getting into it. Black and white was Duck's pick. Interesting. So they picked black and white, and then they put Memoric in X and Y anyway. Interesting. Okay. Well, we'll see how that ends up working out. I'm trying to remember some of like how Akaru and Exern have done in previous sets. I'm gonna check last year's Black and White Cup and see how that went. And look at that, because if I remember right, I think it was Amaranth who won last year's Black and White Cup, or was very close. Let me look at this. Yeah, they were close. Yeah, I think Dad 1 actually won last year. So let me see if I can find, in the next 3 minutes, how each of them did in last year's Black and White Cup. Let's see here. Did either of them make it to playoffs? It was a Swiss tournament last year. Let's see here. I am not seeing either of them in there. I know Akaru has done Black and White before. It doesn't look like either of them made it super, super far. Yeah, I'm not even sure if they played last year. Maybe that's what it is, because I'm not seeing anything from their history. At least last time. Let me look at... Well, that was actually Black and White DU Swiss. Let's look at Black and White Cup, actually. The Black and White Cup proper. Oh, that was by me. I hosted that year. Okay. Was I nice to myself and did I put, let's see here. Or just waiting for the game to start as well. It should start at the top of the hour. That was Classic 4, but that was 2023. So I don't know if they played before that. They didn't, looks like neither player made top 8 before then. Maybe this is a weird pick then. The year before that. The year before that, Akaru lost in top 8. That was in 2022, so quite a ways away. So I'm curious how much, yeah, I mean, this is, again, like, lack of familiarity and actually checking out what the players have done recently in Black and White, but it looks like they haven't had too much that they've played in. Let me just do a general search on, like, the last forum game they posted. Looks like we're getting started, though. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. So what do we got here? So we got a pretty standard Goth Rain from Exern versus it looks like kind of an older Black and White archetype, if I'd say, from Akaru. Like, there's Genesect is kind of a modern mon, but like Hitmontop, Rotom Wash, even Heatran to an extent are kind of generally viewed as less powerful than they were in the past. They're still pretty good Pokemon. Like, there's nothing bad here. If you're Exern, Goth Rain is probably considered to be one of the strongest teams in Black and White at the moment. They recently just banned Gothitelle, but the Pokemon is legal for this final set. Goth is going to be really, really good at trapping Hitmontop in particular. It can trap that and remove it very easily. There are several targets that you can trap and remove with Kingdra as well if you get it up in the rain, and there's no way to turn off the weather on Akaru side unless there's like a sunny day Latios or something equally weird. So Kingdra in rain can potentially trap lots of different Pokemon, and Kingdra is also not threatened in return by a lot. For example, if you do, say, a Muddy Water trade into Heatran plus Rotom Wash, then the worst you're going to take in return is maybe a Thunder Wave. Thunderbolt will do like a little bit over half, but that's about it. I'd expect this to be standard Banded Gene on this. Banded Genesect is pretty typical on this, so Genesect is one of the best answers to this sort of Goth Rain stuff in general. U-Turn does heavy damage into a lot of the Pokemon. You can use Extreme Speed to pick off a weakened Kingdra or Thundurus. You just have to be very careful about what move you lock into versus the Gothitelle. U-Turn can also obviously one-shot the Gothitelle, but typically that doesn't happen in normal games. Normally you'll switch out into Scrafty or into Politoed. And this team is pretty easy to get a download attack boost, or excuse me, download special attack boost with the Genesect, because not only has Ferrothorn has very high natural defense, but typically the Politoed run max defense on this team. So it's pretty easy to get a download special attack boost, which means that the U-turns don't do as much damage as they would otherwise. I'd say probably its favorite X-Turn. This team is generally very strong, and there's not a lot of obvious ways that Akaru has to, for example, break Ferrothorn in rain. If you remove the Heatran, which is not going to be too hard to do, then you don't have that. If you remove the Hitmontop, then you're not going to have that either. But it looks like we got Genesect Hitmontop as a lead. Pretty standard activation order for abilities. Hitmontop here and Scrafty are both threatening Fake Out. You could just do a Fake Out trade into both the Thundurus and Genesect, prevent them both from moving. Thundurus is typically choiced on these teams. It can run Electric Gem. I've seen both. But Fake Out into the Genesect could be blocked by a Hitmontop's Fake Out. Genesect doesn't have a lot to do here otherwise, though. It can U-turn out. It really doesn't want to take an electric move, though. And unless it's a weird set, you'd expect the Thundurus to be faster than Genesect. Looks like there is just a Fake Out into the Thundurus. Probably just a U-turn from Genesect. Yep, into the Politoed. Is it eject button? It is eject button. Okay. That's kind of an older variant. Typically, the newer variants would run a different item. However, Politoed getting hit with the U-turn means that the interaction of U-turn and eject button will force Politoed to switch, but Genesect will not get a switch. So, Kingdra here is pretty strong. Hydro Pump into anything is probably a kill. In fact, Hydro Pump Thunder into the Genesect slot is a kill on almost anything except Sash Landorus. That will do well over half to Rotom Wash if it comes in. It'll do definitely over half into the Latios if it comes in. You could go into Goth and trap it. The Thundurus, if it is Electric Gem, this is just a kill on Genesect, which is huge. Either way, you've caught the Hitmontop on the board. If you can kill the Genesect with your Thundurus right now, if it is Electric Gem, then you probably win the game almost on the spot, because that's a huge kill to get. Genesect in late game being able to Extreme Speed Kingdra is really, really important. And so not having that later will really suck. Even just a Volt Switch into the Genesect is not too committal. You don't really want to have anything except Politoed take the incoming potential Fighting Gem Close Combat, but the Genesect is also decently likely to want to U-turn the Goth here. Let's see what happens. Just a Thunder into the Genesect. It is not Electric Gem, and it does U-turn out, so Genesect will get out of here. Hitmontop is unlikely to be able to do a whole lot in return, though. Fighting Gem Close Combat shouldn't knock out the Thundurus, and it'll put it into KO range of Gothitel's Psychic, very likely, unless it's a weird Hitmontop set. I doubt it has Stone Edge. That's not really a thing. Toxic is probably the most reasonable thing to expect here. But yeah, there's just a Toxic into the Gothitelle. So the Thundurus is very likely choice Scarf based on that play. It now has not a whole lot to do. You could do Thunder Psychic into the Hitmontop if you really want to kill it. However, the Landorus could go for a Stone Edge into the Thundurus, getting a knockout. I think it's more probable the Landorus is going to go for a Stealth Rock or a U-turn, though, to keep up momentum. The Gothitelle should be very inclined to go for Trick Room here, though. switch back to Scrafty, or even you can kind of go Ferrothorn, it's a bit risky. And Trick Room is fairly safe. You could switch out to Politoed as well. Since this is eject button Politoed, typically eject button Politoads just kind of throw themselves away. Looks like Scrafty's coming in. Could take a close combat for this. But yeah, just a U-turn from the Landorus into Gothitelle. Could have got up rocks. Might not potentially have rocks. It could be Choice Scarf. I could see that potentially being a thing on this team. If it is Choice Scarf, it's going to be even weaker to Kingdra, though. Exern probably didn't get any information about that, though, I'd imagine. The Gothitelle takes, again, some damage. Him on top here can go for a close combat into the Scrafty, or go for the Toxic into the Gothitelle. Let's see what happens. Toxic into Scrafty, actually. Psychic into him on top does a little bit over half. No Citrus Berries, so another Psychic will finish it off. So this is a pretty easy fake-out Trick Room if I'm Exern. There's almost nothing that can stop that, and then next turn you can go Psychic and then switch back into your Ferrothorn, or stay in with Scrafty. Scrafty has a couple other things it could do as well if Trick Room does go up. A lot of these Scrafty sets end up running Super Fang. You can do that to chip down the Rotom. Rotom is one of the... Oh, it's actually Shed Shell on the Hitmontop. Interesting. Okay, so the Hitmontop isn't... That's actually kind of huge. If that's the case, I'm surprised that you went for the Toxic and not just a Switch, because your positioning is not great here. But it is just a Psychic. Trying to get kind of greedy there, taking out the Hitmontop. I think Trick Room was almost certainly better. Now the Landorus and Rotom should have a lot of damage that I can do this turn. Only the Thundurus can switch in on Earthquake, but that risks, for example, a Hydro Pump landing into that slot and getting a knockout. Earthquake Hydro Pump may kill the Gothitelle, depending on the Rotom set. We don't know what it's doing here. It may also be Volt Switch. I wouldn't be terribly surprised to see that. Maybe something like Choice Specs. I could see, maybe. Either way, I would expect this to be an Earthquake from the Landorus. If it is choiced, then you might be a little bit risky doing that. But either way, if I'm Exern, I'm probably thinking, that turn didn't go very well for me. You might protect Goth, try to get Scrafty out into Politoed, potentially sack it off and put Kingdra on the board. Let's see what happens. Just a U-turn from the Landorus, so again, not very committal. I'm curious what Akaru is going to go into. So Akaru knows what they clicked. Looks like Latios is coming in, and Hydro Pump does not kill Politoed, which is actually really good for Akaru. So now Latios, Rotom are in a great spot. Draco Meteor into Goth is fairly free. You have to watch out for Ferrothorn coming in and then killing Politoed, and then your guy just being trapped at -2, so you have to be careful about that. Latios could also be Trick. Let's see what ends up going for. Just a Draco Meteor, Dragon Gem into the Ferrothorn. What does the Rotom go for? Just a Hydro Pump into the Politoed. The Hydro Pump did 28 to Politoed. That doesn't look like Specs damage to me. I would expect that this Rotom can switch moves. This is the scary thing, though, because now the Gothitelle can come back out and trap the Latios, get Trick Room up, and Ferrothorn is in a phenomenal spot. However, Ferrothorn typically does not carry Protect on these teams. The normal set is a Grass move, Gyro Ball, Substitute, and Curse, almost always Power Whip. If Rotom is the more traditional Will-Wisp, then it could burn the Ferrothorn and substantially reduce its impact. If you, for example, go into Goth, trade Trick Room and say, Curse for Will-O-Wisp Draco, I don't know if that's necessarily a good trade. You can then skill swap onto the Ferrothorn, but I don't think Ferrothorn's going to, 1v forever on that. You could potentially go into your Goth and set up Trick Room and then do something else. Looks like deciding that trapping is not the right move now. Switching into Kingdra. Kingdra does have a lot of offensive pressure into the Latios. It shouldn't kill a Rotom. I'd be shocked if it killed Rotom here. Unless it's Choice Scarf Rotom and has weird stats. We saw it get hit by a Fake Out. I would expect the Fake Out to do a little bit more damage if it wasn't bulky. This looks like a pretty, ordinary bulky Rotom wash. So, if it does have Will-O-Wisp, I'd really expect that to be used into the Ferrothorn slot this turn, and Latios should almost certainly be getting out of here. Yep, looks like Hitmontop's coming in, hoping to take a Draco Meteor on that side. A Substitute, though. That's a great substitute. Will-O-Wisp does land into the Ferrothorn, though. That is huge. The Power Whip will do some damage into Rotom, but burning this Ferrothorn is really, really important for Akaru. They do have Heatran, which will, permanently wall it, so to speak. But Heatran is really, really hard to make work into Gothrain in particular because of Scrafty trapping it, and because of the damage that Thundurus can do, and because Heat Wave is weakened in its damage because of the effective rain. So Kingdra getting up the substitute there is really big, though. Muddy Water should pick up a KO on Hitmontop, and it does. Rotom does recover HP with the Citrus Berry. Does not get an accuracy drop either, and is able to use Thunderbolt to break this Kingdra substitute. So now, Genesect could come in. I think it's threatening a knockout on Thundurus. Shouldn't be threatening a knockout on Kingdra yet at 66. I'd be shocked if it threatened a knockout there. And even if it does, the Scrafty could come in and use its Intimidate to weaken that. However, bringing Scrafty in is disadvantageous because you get a KO on Genesect for that, but your other Pokemon will probably faint through Rotom's attack. Rotom's Hydro Pump is looking really good into the Thundurus slot, for example. Thunderbolt into Kingdra is also fairly solid. Genesect could also be used here as a bait. I think it's decently likely that you're going to have Scrafty come in here. Probably the safest thing you can do is protect Kingdra, go Scrafty. Then next turn you have Fake Out into Rotom and Muddy Water. However, doing that means that you're trading a lot of your health on Kingdra, and you really do want Kingdra healthy. If you don't have Kingdra healthy, then you're going to have a lot of trouble hitting Landorus, I think, especially. I think that's going to be probably the thing that you're most concerned about. But Kingdra hits almost everything here. I doubt you're just going to give it up for free. Let's see. Looks like Kingdra does just go for Protect as Scrafty switches in. Extreme Speed into Scrafty does some damage. Let's see what the Rotom does. Does it get free damage into Scrafty as well? Nope, just goes for Thunderbolt into Kingdra, covering that option. So Kingdra is going to get another hit off here. You could retreat the Genesect into a Muddy Water Sack. I think it's very unlikely that Kingdra is going for Draco Meteor here. I think you really want the special attack if you're Exern. The Rotom here, though, if it gets off another move, is going to do, like, heavy damage. Like, the only thing that could really get punished is, like, Thunderbolt into Thundurus on switch-in. That would probably be the worst thing that could happen. Let's see. Fake Out into Genesect, actually. What's this Kingdra going for? Is it that Draco Meteor? It is. Is that a KO? It is. Okay. So Kingdra is going to lose more HP from that. I still don't think it's in extreme speed range. I'd be shocked if it was. Heatran should not die to a Muddy Water now. Latios is definitely also not going to die to a Draco Meteor. It will 100% survive this attack. Has Scrafty already used its Citrus Berry? It has. So let's see what happens here. Genesect is retreated. I like that play a lot. Scrafty is now... Okay, let's see here. Is this the Draco Meteor? Sunny... Oh, it is Sunny Day! Wow! Okay. So, Sunny Day on Latios is huge here. Exern, very salty in the chat about this. Wow, Sunny Day is like a great call out. Now the Kingdra is going to be substantially reduced in power. We're going to see if the Landorus is choice locked or not here. Earthquake is pretty free, though. Like, if you've got Earthquake, also, it's definitely not choice locked on Latios. There's no way that it's Scarf Sunny Day into Goth Rain. This looks like, with the Shed Shell on Hitmontop, it's probably prepped into this matchup. Looks like Scrafty's coming back in. Is it Choice Scarf on the Landorus? That's my question. It is Choice Scarf on the Landorus. Okay, so that could potentially be exploitable later. Let's see what Latios does. Just Draco into the Goth. So you do get Trick Room here if you're Exern, and that means that the Kingdra will be able to pick up a KO on Latios still. However, I don't know if that's worth it because the Heatran now is looking crazy good. You also have to watch out a little bit for crits. The Landorus you kind of have to start ignoring, and it's going to do a lot of damage with Earthquake still. Like, for example, if you go for a Draco Meteor into Latios and Psychic into Landorus, I'm not so sure that Muddy Water will pick up the Landorus on the next turn. Maybe it will. It might be close. Which means that Heatran can come in, and, like, Heatran is pretty free here. It would be able to probably Earth Power the Kingdra, probably put it in range. It looks like we do see a Psychic and Draco. So, yeah, Earthquake into the Kingdra is definitely going to put it in KO range of a Heatran move. It's probably in range of Heat Wave, too. So if you're willing to risk Heat Wave, then it's in a really good spot. Oh, looks like Genesect comes out. Interesting. Okay. So, the problem with Genesect coming out is that you've guaranteed your Genesect will die. Oh, but... Oh, I see. Because it's choice locked, actually, the Landorus is... Oh, okay. So actually, really... Huh, interesting. So this Goth is actually really scary now because the Landorus will KO Akaru's own Heatran because of the trap. Oh, wait. Oh, okay. So if you're Exern, the Genesect can't protect. It's going to faint, you just don't. Yeah, exactly. You just, yeah, protect is fine too. Yeah. So Jacksack's gonna go down. Yeah, the Choice Scarf on Landorus, locking into Earthquake earlier on. Oh boy. Okay, so the Heatran does not survive this, by the way. There's no shot it survives this. I think this is over because if you attack with Heatran and you get the kill on Kingdra, then Landorus definitely knocks you out. If you go for Protect with Heatran, EQ into both of these guys, I don't think Heat Wave will KO the Thundurus at 53. So I think that this is going to be a win for Xern. You might need some double protects. No, that's not going to work either because Trickery will run out and then... Yeah, I think this is a win for Xern. I think the... people saying I'm too broken. I guess it continues to be broken. But yeah, as long as you don't KO Landorus here, then I think you're chilling. I don't really see a way around this. Looks like Ferrothorn coming in, saving the Kingdra. That's the smart move as well. Yeah, you're not gonna be. Yeah, I don't see a way around this because even if the Landorus somehow, or even if the Heatran somehow survived an Earthquake, which it absolutely is not gonna do, it'd be at like 2 health, and so Thundurus would be able to pick it off, and the Landorus is choice locked. Heatran, unless Heatran has not the standard set of Heat Wave. Actually, it could be sub on Heatran. Okay, it is sub on Heatran, so that buys you 1 turn. Looks like Ferrothorn will die itself there. It probably should have been just an attack into Heatran, but it doesn't really matter. And yeah, you're not going to win because Heatran has nothing to do other than protect 100 times. Landorus is not going to run out of Earthquakes anytime soon. It's not Shucka Heatran, it's leftovers, so... Focus Blast into the Heatran. I don't really like that play. That doesn't really matter because I'm almost certain that Earthquake will just kill the Heatran. There's almost no way. Yep. Xern playing it smart, using all their protects to get around this, but yeah, Akaru at the end of the day is not going to have enough. They're not going to run out Earthquake fast enough. So even if there's a Focus Blast missed here, it does not matter. You have to have like 100 billion Focus Blast mists. Yeah, you're gonna have to miss every Focus Blast and then crit 2 struggles, I think. Should be over. Yep, there's the Focus Blast hit. Fun little game there. I guess Goth is too broken. A classic. A classic. Alright, well that was a fun finals. Interesting positioning there from both players. I think, yeah, the Earthquake at the end, Akaru just didn't think far enough ahead about how the Earthquake would put them in position. So, that'll be it.